This video is an introduction to using multiple warehouses in Brightpearl. We're going to see how to turn on the multi-warehouse feature and how to add warehouses. We're going to see what changes when you enable multi-warehouse, and we're going to see how multi-warehouse works with e-commerce stores and marketplaces. There are separate videos where we can see how to transfer inventory between warehouses and how we work with 3PL, third-party logistics and Amazon FBA. So to activate multiple warehouses, go to Setup, and then Products and Inventory, and then Inventory Settings. Scroll down till you see the Multiple Warehouse setting and choose Yes. You'll be asked to enter Switch to confirm this change because adding warehouses adds extra complexity to your workflow, and we really want to make sure you do want to make the change before we turn it on. So we'll confirm here, and then save, and then confirm again that we definitely want to turn on multiple warehouses. This gives us a new menu item on the left-hand side under Products and Inventory called Warehouses. Here's the warehouse that you've been using so far for all of your inventory transactions, and here's also where we can add further warehouses. Let's just click to add a new warehouse, give it a name, let's just call it Second, it needs an address, and then save. So we now have two warehouses in our system. There's no extra charge for the multi-warehouse feature, but you do need to be aware of the workflows that change when you've got more than one warehouse. The first thing to note is that the inventory quantity on the product list shows the sum of the inventory from all of your warehouses. If we click this number, the number 3, we'll get the product pop-up where we can see the quantity we have in each of our warehouses. So we've got 3 in stock in the main warehouse and 0 in stock in the second warehouse. I can actually filter the product list to show inventory from just one warehouse. So let's click Show Filter, and here's where we choose the warehouse. The next thing to know is that every single sales order and purchase order is assigned to a warehouse. So you'll now have a new select menu here where you choose the warehouse. The warehouse that's set on the order is not necessarily the one that you have to use when shipping or receiving goods, however. So this is a purchase order, and let's go to Receive Inventory. We've now got a select menu where we can choose which warehouse it gets received into. So in this case, let's choose the second warehouse. That refreshes the screen and lets us receive the inventory. So even though the order itself was set to the main warehouse, we can receive the items into any warehouse we like. Similarly, for sales orders, you can ship items from any warehouse that has on-hand inventory. It does not have to be from the order's warehouse. So we can see we have a sales order here that's been set to the main warehouse. To see how much inventory I've got in any warehouse, click the product SKU, which opens up the product pop-up, where in the Inventory tab, we can see in the main warehouse we've got 2 on hand, and in the second warehouse we've got 1 on hand. This particular customer wants 2, and the quantity on hand shown on the line item is that's coming from the main warehouse. So that's okay, we could fulfill this entire sale from this warehouse. If however the customer wants 3, then we've only got 2 in this warehouse, and we'll have to ship 2 from one warehouse and 1 from the other warehouse. So I've saved that sale, and I go to Fulfill and Partial or Advanced Fulfillment, which you can turn on in your product and inventory settings. From this screen, we can see on the right hand side a list of all of our warehouses and how many items are on hand. So what you'd do here is you'd fulfill 2 from one warehouse and 1 from the second warehouse. Alternatively, you could create an inventory transfer to bring this item from the second warehouse into the main warehouse and then ship these 3 items all from the main warehouse. So that's what we call partial fulfillment from different warehouses. However, you can only allocate inventory from the order warehouse. So let's go back to the sales order, where we can see that we've only got 2 on hand from the orders warehouse, which is the main warehouse. So if we attempt to allocate all items and save, you'll see that only 2 items have been allocated because we only had 2 on hand in the orders warehouse. If you did want to transfer the third item from your second warehouse into your main warehouse, you'd do so by creating an inventory transfer. And you can do that from Products, Warehouse, Inventory Transfers. There's a separate video that shows you how to do that. If you do have multiple warehouses, it's important to know how these work with integrated sales channels. So let's go to our Channels menu, where we've got eBay and Shopify, and for sake of example, let's go and have a look at the Shopify settings. What we can see is we can choose one warehouse for allocating orders. We can also see that we can choose multiple warehouses for calculating on-hand inventory levels. So if I choose both my warehouses, the on-hand levels in both of those warehouses will be summed together, and that will be the available inventory on our Shopify store. But remember, we can only allocate from one warehouse. So this is what happens. We're going to use eBay as an example. We've got 3 items on hand in warehouse 1 and 6 items on hand in warehouse 2. We've chosen both warehouse 1 and warehouse 2 to feed our eBay channel, which means that eBay shows 9 available. Our customer purchased 8 of these, and we've chosen warehouse 1, which is our main mail order warehouse, to be the warehouse that we allocate inventory from for that particular channel. We only have 3 on hand in warehouse 1, so only 3 have been allocated. If we're still summing the inventory on hand from our 2 warehouses, that means that we're telling eBay that there are now 6 on hand, which isn't necessarily correct because there's 8 that the customers ordered, 3 allocated, and there's 5 that we actually wanted to allocate from warehouse 2 but couldn't. So the solution here is to fulfill the order as quickly as you can, and when you create the shipments from each of the warehouses, that will decrease the quantity on hand and make your eBay store show the right quantity available. This principle applies for any integrated sales channel, whether it's an e-commerce store or a marketplace. On the product record, there are a number of fields that are actually per warehouse. So we've got the minimum stock level, the reorder quantity, and also the product's default location within the warehouse. Each of these can be set on a per warehouse basis. So that's all for the introduction. What I'd recommend you do next is watch the video that shows you how to transfer inventory between your warehouses.